So y'all can see me. Y'all can see me. Ignore the stuff in the background. Just absorb the beauty in the backyard today. I hope you guys can hear me okay. I'm trying to get the light and just absorb the light while I can. These pants I've been working on a little bit. I'm not quite done. I might be almost done, but it really is dependent on how I feel. But I have not set the acrylic paint yet. I know it's better to use fabric paint, so I'm going to use that in the future, but this isn't what this video is about. Just, hi Crow. This video, as you can tell from the title, hi guys! My crows are flying over. But I'm going to be reading the political teachings of Jesus. I've been studying this book for a while now, like literally, like just a bitch loves to highlight. Hello. Hi. Hi. And Nuthatch. You're Nuthatch, right? Are you Nuthatch? Hi. Hi, beautiful. I'm down here. On the ground. Hello. Hello. And more of my crows are flying over. I don't know if you can tell. They're higher up in the sky than the camera is showing, but hey guys. But this book really has been, whoa. You scare me, Nuthatch. Sorry, I get distracted. ADHD. But yeah, I thought I would just start reading this, and I do want to share some like on Instagram too soon. So yeah, so I am gonna read word for word. I'm not just gonna read what I highlighted, because I want to give as full of context from what Jesus' teachings are, but also what this author talks about, Todd Lindberg. So we'll just read chapter 1 first. Let's see if we can get chapter 1 done. We might not be able to. I might have to do it in a different video, because no, we're not gonna get chapter 1 done. But we'll do the because it is in different sections. It's broken up into different sections within the chapters as well. So we're going to start off with the Beatitudes. Now, the reason I also want to share the political teachings of Jesus is because I feel like Christianity, especially the far right, have really taken over, and used Christianity as a weapon. And Christianity is not meant to be a weapon. It's not supposed to be forced to be national. Jesus is very adamant that it has to be a voluntary choice to follow him. It has to be of our free will. This is also for not only the ones that don't know Jesus, but for the ones that do know Jesus but might know him of a way from the right wing, the extreme right wing. If you're right wing and you follow Jesus' teachings the way that he does, and you don't get manipulated by things of this earth, then that's great. But I feel like we all do. We all get manipulated by things of this earth, of our own personal opinions, of those of the government, etc. So, the Beatitudes. Oh, what I wanted to say, excuse me. I wanted to say that I've learned this and I observed this over the years, especially reading this now, of that a lot of people that are activists, that are atheists, wow, the crows are circling around me, that they believe almost exactly what Jesus taught, more than I've seen a lot of Christians act. and believe. And I get chills on my head talking about it and thinking about it. But it's the truth. So if you feel like you are so far from God, you are so far from Jesus because of what you've experienced in church, because of what you've experienced from Christians, you are not as far as you think you are. You're truly not. The Beatitudes. The Sermon on the Mount is the most influential piece of preaching ever. A summary of the most important elements of the teachings of Jesus. The Gospel of Matthew places it front and center in its account of Jesus' life and ministry. It comes as the climax of the first section of Matthew's Gospel, a sort of answer to the questions of what all the fuss over Jesus is about. In the opening pages of the Gospel, we hear about Jesus' genealogy and birth. John the Baptist dramatically preparing for the way of he who is coming. Jesus' baptism and temptation and the beginning of his preaching career, in which he recruits his first disciples. The Gospel of Matthew notes Jesus was going throughout all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom. The news about him spread throughout all Syria. Large crowds followed him from Galilee and Decapolis. Excuse me, I do have some impediments. And Jerusalem and Judea and from beyond the Jordan. People were willing to travel scores of miles to hear this preacher and teacher vast distances when the way from here to there was by foot. I hear you. I'm pretty sure that's Cardinal. One finds these passages of Matthew a sense of mounting excitement. Jesus began preaching and drawing crowds, and this is what he had to say. The Sermon on the Mount has long been rightly understood as both a starting point and a summation of Jesus' teaching. No less than, with regard to his religious teaching, the Sermon on the Mount is also the foundation and the first concise summary of the political teaching of Jesus. The Sermon on the Mount begins with a dizzying commentary designed to turn upside down the political and social world of the Roman Empire, of Caesar Augustus, and of the Jewish religious elite of Judea and Jerusalem. As if this were not enough, it is also the opening move of a more dramatic and fundamental reassessment of political and social affairs, applying not only to its own time, but also to all future times, down to our day. More still, it points to the increasing fulfillment in this world of the promise of the human condition as such, and of the struggle against vast and daunting, but not insurmountable obstacles that such fulfillment will require. Okay. Jesus begins by describing those who are truly fortunate, the lucky ones of this day, of their day. But it is not emperors, conquerors, priests, and the wealthy ones who enjoy this favor. Rather, it is the common people, those whom earthly success has largely passed by, the poor, the meek, the persecuted, and the peacemakers. How can this be? Because though they may have been denied worldly success, what cannot be taken away from them is their potential to live rightly by one another. It is all too easy for those who enjoy the pleasures of this world to try to float above such obligations. Jesus goes on to say that so long as ordinary people stand for the right things. Let me say that again. Jesus goes on to say that so long as ordinary people stand for the right things and do not retreat in their rightness before those who seem to have more power, what's right will prevail. It's their kingdom, a kingdom organized not from top down, but from bottom up. Superficialities, such as worldly success, are accordingly no indication of true worth. Jesus is appalled by the way mankind, supposedly in possession of the law, has used the technicality of the law's commands to subvert its spirit. He says his mission is to fulfill the law. He directs people to look within themselves, to discover their true obligations, and he remonstrates against those who think they have complied with the law merely by following its letter. Some of the laws that have come down from ancient times are themselves incomplete, and Jesus means to flesh them out. The principle of an eye for an eye, which comes from Exodus 21:24, was an improvement on the practice of taking both eyes for an eye. A principle of proportion replaced an older principle of justice, according to which any infraction against the social code or political order warranted a sentence of death. But it is an inadequate improvement, Jesus contends. Likewise, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. Mount 5:43. The first part of the passage, which comes from Leviticus 19:18, is important guidance for those inclined to hate not only their enemies but also their neighbors. But this ancient rule still leaves a world organized around the permanent existence of friends and enemies. Jesus seeks to undermine that juxtaposition and move toward a world beyond enemies. The effect of Jesus' correction of the law in these cases is to drive people's thought inward. Outward compliance with the law is not enough. The question of where the heart is also matters, indeed is most important. Jesus invites people to confront what drives them. Jesus invites people to confront what drives them in the direction of wrongdoing before they do wrong. Following the law against doing wrong under penalty of death is a start, but not until people begin to overcome their interior urges to do wrong will a true community come into being. Jesus further explores the importance of the interior life by asking why people give to the poor, pray, or fast. Do they give alms to the poor for the sake of the poor, or simply for their own sake in order to be praised for their generosity? Do they pray and fast because they are pious, or simply to be hailed for their piety? If all they care about is their reputation, the outward appearance they present, then they will have lost the true benefit that giving to the poor conveys. They should see in the poor an obligation they owe, not an opportunity for their own reward. Jesus reinforces this point metaphorically, admonishing his listeners that the true treasures are not those who can accumulate materially, but the treasure of the heart. When the heart's treasures are secure, material matters assume their proper secondary place. Having focused his listeners' attention on what goes on within their own hearts, Jesus turns to the question of their relations with others. First, he warns of the dangers of passing hasty judgment. Can we ourselves hold up under the scrutiny we seem to have an almost irresistible impulse to apply to others? A candid look within ourselves will reveal how difficult such scrutiny would be to withstand. We have a responsibility to clean up our own conduct. Only then can we approach the misconduct of others in the spirit of helping them, not condemning them. Approaching our own flaws in this fashion yields the single most important ethical and political precept Jesus offers to his followers, the Golden Rule. In everything, therefore, treat people the same way you want them to treat you. Mount 7:12, Luke 6:31. Jesus warns that the course he proposes is not an easy one. The distractions are many. Success is not merely a matter of repeating what Jesus says or outwardly doing as he prescribes, as one might follow a set of instructions or rules. Rather, successful adherence to his teaching is a matter of what goes on within. To hear the Sermon on the Mount is only the beginning. It is a foundation for what comes next. What people build for themselves on earth will either rest on a secure foundation, Jesus' political and ethical teaching, and so will last because it is true on its own terms, or built on sand. The human project will be at the mercy of the rain, the floods, and the winds, erratic fortune, and may fall. At the center of the Sermon on the Mount, at the very heart of this reflection on the importance of the heart, Jesus gives instruction to the people on what to say when they pray. It includes the lines, "Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven." Mount 6:10. From the Sermon on the Mount itself, we can see that this is not mere beseeching for the arrival of divine justice on earth. The teaching of Jesus amounts to a program for the creation of a just order in this world. Okay, I'm going to end it there. The next one will be the Beatitudes begin. That was just kind of like a prelude, kind of introduction kind of thing. So, God bless y'all. I have been wanting to do this for a few weeks now, so I'm gracious that God has given me the strength and the courage to do so. God bless y'all. Bye.